All right, so what's up? New video here. I wanted to do something a lot different. I want to start telling you personally how I got from point A to point B through personal stories and just sharing a lot about my transformation. I believe that I was doing things a little bit wrong as positioning myself as an expert when I should be holding your hand, or we should be holding hands throughout this journey together. And I wanted to do that by way of sharing personal stories with you so you can see how I transform a lot of things in my life and you understand just a little bit more of where I'm coming from. So, today's video, I wanted to share specifically how I stopped being my worst enemy. A lot of you and a lot of my background has to do with a particular background of emotional neglect, childhood trauma, and complex post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, on top of all that childhood trauma, also in our life's experience. So I thought it was very important that I share these stories with you and I share the psychological aspects that I gained that enhance my emotional well being as well as my mental well being. All right. So, today's video again is how I stopped being my worst enemy. As you can see, I'm an African American male living in America where there's a lot of brainwashing, there's a lot of religion, there's a lot of racism and things that go on, right? Very complex experience in this country. So there is a epidemic in where there is not a lot of black males in the home. So I happen to come from one of those homes where my father stepped out. He walked out. Him and my mother broke things off officially when I was about 11, 12 years old, even though they were always off and on. And so that tells a lot about my story because us as males, we always need a model. So if there's no model in the home, we're going to go out and we're going to seek a model. And what was pushed onto us, or what we gravitate to, is celebrities, right? So mine happened to be Young Jeezy, happened to be Lil Wayne, happened to be a lot of hip hop artists, specifically Lil Wayne. He was my model. I loved at the time around 2006, 2007, the relationship that he had with his mentor, or the person that quote unquote brought him in or adopted him, which was Birdman. I love the whole like father, like son era. I always fantasized, like most young males, of their dad being a superstar, being rich, wealthy, and passing on the game. This greatly impacted me and influenced my life, as well as the main concept of this video, which is your self concept, how you see yourself, what you believe about yourself, and what you attribute to become. This is the most important thing when it comes to the cheat code in this brand and this business is how do you see yourself? Who do you actually believe yourself to be? Because that's going to be your North Star. That's going to be what determines your values today, the actions and the decisions that you make today, and who you're looking to become. So let's rewind a little bit. Me being not having a father, my father was there, but he never really was involved either. So just imagine a young male, right, not having a father, and his motto is a hip hop artist. And then on top of that, just you know, the community that I lived in, I lived a lot of places. So some places it was a less black population. I was received much different there. Um, I was judged. I was falsely accused a lot of times. And then when I went to, back to my home based community, which was South Central Los Angeles, I was looked at as a square and I had to adapt to the environment. And with doing so, again, Lil Wayne and Young Jeezy and these guys being my model, I emulated their behaviors, their attitudes, how they dressed. And things were very difficult because I had a mother who wanted the best for me, right? But she's the opposite gender of a male. So her ability to understand where I'm coming from, why I do the things that I do, and things like that are often skewed, right? She could only do the best that she could, which was try to get me into the best schools, which she did. In middle school, I went to a very, very violent middle school. But seventh grade, I was able to transfer to a different city in Woodland Hills, California. I went to Hale Middle School, and it was a lot better middle school, right? It was a lot better academically, socially, and things like that. But I had already been, what's the word? I already had been put into a whole different environment and had to adapt. So I slightly became a different person, right? I was exposed to a different type of environment. I was exposed to peer pressure of this is how a black male is supposed to think, behave, and act. This is what a black male is, right? This is why I said in America, it's a lot of brainwashing. So I adopted some of that, right? Not all the way internally, but a lot subconsciously, which affects you greatly. And so I adapted to that self concept that this is how a black male is supposed to act. This is how a black male gets money. This is who a black male is supposed to be. So being put into a different environment in school, it's already too late. I couldn't get back into education. My mind's already, my heart's already broken from the household, and my mind's already all over the place because of society, right? I had Persian friends, I had Mexican friends, but those friendships often didn't last long. A lot of it due to racism, a lot of it just simply due to self-consciousness, right? And it just didn't work out. Every time I looked at like my black male friends and things like that, they also just weren't on what I were on. It was just a difference. A lot of them didn't ever have a father or a father to tell them they loved them. My father still would tell me like I love you. We will still share compassion with each other and things like that. So that dichotomy was so difficult to navigate. And I say all of this to say your self-concept is the most important thing. Fast forwarding about 10 years later, right? Or a little greatly over 10 years later, I got to read a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by, I think it's Max something. And I got to understand the importance of your self-concept, right? Because you're always being received by everyone in the world. But your self-concept, again, goes into how much you like yourself. What are the beliefs about yourself? What do you believe you're capable of? What's possible? And overall, again, how you present yourself, your self-image, and who you aspire to be tells a lot about yourself in the moment. So how I stopped being my worst enemy was I made sure that I thought for myself and I tried my best to heal and curate a self-concept that was healthy, that was successful, and most importantly, that was crafted by my own heart. The design was crafted by someone I wanted to be, not what somebody else wanted me to be. All right? That's the most important lesson here. And that then opens up the realm of healing, self-sabotage, your fear of failure, your limited beliefs, and all those things that try to hold you back. And you eventually, in your inner conflict, your past, right, your emotional overwhelm, all the things that damage you from the past, you were able to face with clarity and overcome them and eventually stop being your own worst enemy. So I want to share that quick story with you guys. Hopefully you like this. If you want more videos like this, comment down in the comment section below and I'll share a lot more stories how I overcame the struggles in my life to show that you can too. All right. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.